Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Yet another episode of Crushing Fantasy Football. I am Bryce Lockridge, your host of the show. All right, guys, a lot of us have our fantasy drafts tonight, or if not tonight, in the next couple days. The season is less than 2 weeks away. I'm super pumped. I know you guys are as well. So I'm here to give you some last-minute draft advice. I want you guys to take these things into consideration in your draft because I use these things every year in all of my leagues, and it helps me have success in fantasy football. So I want to make sure that you guys are implementing these strategies. So I'm going to start right here with the first thing on my list, and that's you want to make sure that if you're drafting wide receivers in the first round, especially in PPR formats, they have to be a wide receiver that's projected for 10 or more targets a game. In today's NFL, it is very realistic to expect 10-plus targets a game on average from a season-long entire standpoint, from an entire season from guys like, Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, right? Guys taken in the first round, Jamar Chase, Stephon Diggs. These kind of guys, they can average 10-plus targets a game throughout the course of an entire season. We saw it last year with Stephon Diggs. We saw it last year with Justin Jefferson, with Cooper Kupp before he went down with his injury, with Jamar Chase. These guys are averaging 10-plus targets a game. So if it's not a wide receiver that's going to get that kind of insane opportunity share in his offense, don't draft them. Don't draft wide receivers in the first round that aren't going to get 10-plus targets a game. An example is Jalen Waddle. Some people are taking Jalen Waddle at the back end of the first round. I love Jalen Waddle's upside, but he's going to have some weekly volatility because he's probably not going to average 10 targets a game. So if it's not a wide receiver that's going to average 10-plus targets a game, don't take them in round one and be very careful taking them in round two. Waddle is okay in round two because of the ridiculous upside due to his big playability in the offense that he plays in, but he's not going to get 10 targets a game, where guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown and Garrett Wilson that are often going around two will get 10-plus targets a game. So make sure that you target those 10-plus target a game wide receivers in rounds 1 and 2. Next on my list is no split backfield running backs in rounds 1 and 2. Please don't do this. The only split backfield running back that should go in the first round or the second round is Christian McCaffrey. And that's because we know that he could literally average 9 targets a game in his offense. He's playing an offense that's going to give him ridiculous touchdown upside. So he's really the only split backfield running back that should be taken in the first 2 rounds. Outside of that, you're targeting Saquon Barkley, Nick Chubb, Tony Pollard, Bijan Robinson, right? These are the guys that we want to target in the first round because they're getting all the work in their backfield. And in today's NFL, the split backfield running back is so common that the true workhorse running back has elite fantasy value, right? But you want to make sure that whenever you're taking one of these running backs in the early rounds, they have the upside to be the running back 1 in all of fantasy, right? Because you don't want to be stuck with that running back that's kind of good and he's the running back 6 or 7 and he's your hero running back. You want your hero running back to be a top 3 running back in fantasy. So draft guys with that kind of upside. Christian McCaffrey, Tony Pollard, Nick Chubb, Saquon Barkley, okay? These are the kind of guys that have the upside to be a top 3 overall running back in fantasy. So draft a running back with that kind of upside early that isn't splitting a backfield unless it's Christian McCaffrey. You can go ahead and draft him in rounds 1 or 2 if you feel like he's the best pick. Next thing on my list is, I know this isn't going to be popular opinion, but you really should avoid taking Mahomes, Allen, or Hurts. They're being drafted too highly. A lot of times in your ESPN drafts, even underdog drafts now, these guys are starting to go in round 2. This is way too early to take a quarterback. And it's not that they don't have elite upside. We know that all 3 of these guys have elite upside. They were very polarizing players last year. But let's keep in mind that although quarterback was incredibly polarizing last year, it doesn't happen like that every year. If you look at the past 5 years of fantasy football, the running back position is still more polarizing as far as the top running back in the number 1 slot and the running back in the number 5 slot. 3 out of the past 5 seasons, the running back position has been more polarizing than quarterback. It's just that last year was kind of an anomaly because, it was so polarizing up top because, look, Lamar Jackson missed 5 games. Dak Prescott missed 5 games. Russell Wilson was a massive, colossal, unexpected bust. Deshaun Watson was suspended for the entire season. Justin Herbert was playing the entire season with a rib injury, an injured offensive line, and all his passing weapons were not on the field. So, you look at all these quarterbacks that could have competed for the quarterback 1 spot. Justin Fields as well, somebody I forgot to mention. He didn't really get unleashed till the halfway point of the season. These are all quarterbacks that can give you the same upside as Mahomes, Allen, or Hurts, and you can take them in the mid or even later rounds, guys like Deshaun Watson. Even Tua Tagovailoa has some pretty insane upside. So, when you get great quarterbacks like this that can match their upside in the middle to later rounds, I highly, highly recommend avoiding these quarterbacks in round 2 and 3, Hurts, Allen, Mahomes, and waiting on a guy like Herbert or Fields or Deshaun Watson. Next on my list is in PPR formats, you really need to build your team around 3 wide receivers. This is very much because of the split backfields, right? We know that there's very few true workhorse running backs in today's NFL. Most running backs are splitting a backfield, even the best ones. So you really don't want to build your team around 3 running backs because it's just hard to get a team full of 3 running backs where you're getting really good running back production out of all 3 slots, right? So build your team around 3 wide receivers. It's a lot more doable because there's a lot more receivers with insane upside now than there are running backs because of all the split backfields. So for PPR formats, especially, build your team around 3 wide receivers. Now for standard formats, it's okay to build around 3 running backs, but I want to just tell you guys that it's still going to be kind of hard to do. It's still probably ideal to build your team around 3 wide receivers. Next on my list is I'm going to give you guys a list here of my players that I think are the absolute best value in fantasy drafts this year that are going to give you that league-winning upside. They're by far and away the number one priority that you should have in your fantasy drafts because these guys are going to win leagues based on their ridiculous upside and based on where they're going in the draft. So the list is Amari Cooper, Breece Hall, Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, DJ Moore, Darren Waller, Justin Herbert, Justin Fields, Deshaun Watson, Alvin Kamara, Dalton Kincaid, and Drake London. These guys all have ridiculous upside. They're being massively undervalued, and they could win leagues. Look, Amari Cooper, 6 out of his 8 seasons in the league, has had over 1,000 receiving yards. He's never had a legit quarterback throwing him the ball. The best quarterback he's ever had throwing him the ball is Dak Prescott. No offense, but Deshaun Watson is light years ahead of Dak Prescott in talent. Amari Cooper is about to absolutely explode in this offense, okay? He's absolutely going to go off. Breece Hall, yes, he's splitting a backfield with Dalvin Cook now, but I think we all know how good this Jets offense is going to be. We know what kind of weekly upside he presents. He has league-winning upside because he's going to have those weeks where he comes out and absolutely explodes. Chris Godwin and Mike Evans are being massively undervalued right now because Baker Mayfield is a quarterback. But, guys, Baker Mayfield is not that bad of a quarterback. He gets a bad rap because he's been inconsistent in his NFL career. But remember his first season in the league. He was very good, and he's never had passing weapons as good as Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Baker Mayfield and the Bucs offense is going to surprise people. These 2 receivers in the Bucs offense are massively undervalued. Remember, back in 2019, when Chris Godwin and Mike Evans were the only weapons in their offense, they absolutely exploded. Chris Godwin was the number 2 wide receiver in all of fantasy. Mike Evans was the top 5 wide receiver in fantasy. Both of these guys can be top 10 wide receivers in fantasy this season, and they're being taken at like wide receiver 25 or later. It's mind-blowing. These are probably some of the biggest steals in the draft. Next, DJ Moore. We know how good he's going to be. People are sleeping on him because people don't trust the Bears. They don't trust Justin Fields. They haven't seen DJ Moore break out yet. Guys, this is all nonsense. This quarterback-wide receiver connection is going to be super legit. This is going to be an elite offense. DJ Moore is going to explode. Darren Waller, I've been talking about it all offseason. I made a tight end rankings video about 2 months ago, and I had Darren Waller as my number 2 tight end overall on the season. And at the time, everybody was making fun of me for it, saying that Darren Waller, I'm chasing the Darren Waller, glory years, and he's washed up and all this stuff. And now after watching him a little bit in the preseason, all those people seem to have disappeared because Darren Waller, we've seen how good he's going to function in this offense. This offense is going to be darn good. Darren Waller is the main pass-catching weapon in the offense. He's going to absolutely explode. He can give you potential Travis Kelce-like upside, and you can get him in rounds 5 or 6. He's a massive steal. Justin Herbert, Justin Fields, Deshaun Watson. Justin Herbert and Justin Fields are going in the middle rounds, and they have the same exact upside as Pat Mahomes and Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen. I love these 2 quarterbacks in the middle rounds. Deshaun Watson going in the later rounds is an absolute joke. This is the biggest sleeper in the draft. I've been talking about it all off season. The number 1 biggest steal in the entire fantasy draft this year is Deshaun Watson. This dude's going to explode, and you can get him in like round 9 of ESPN drafts. It's mind-blowing the value here. Draft Deshaun Watson. This should be one of your number 1 priorities in the draft. And if you're able to stack him and Amari Cooper, I promise you it's going to win leagues. Alvin Kamara is a massive steal, right? Going into mid to later rounds. I mean, this dude is still Alvin Kamara, one of the most talented running backs in the league. He's probably going to explode in the Saints offense this year with the quarterback upgrade. Dalton Kincaid's a huge sleeper. There's people that think he's the new Travis Kelce. There's people that think that he could just really come out and contribute right out of the gate, which I very much think he's going to do. He's on an elite offense. He's an elite talent. Dalton Kincaid's going to explode. And in ESPN drafts, you could get him with like your 15th pick. People are drafting defenses before drafting Dalton Kincaid, who could be a top 5 tight end this year. Last player here I have on my list is Drake London. This is a dude who had a 29% target share in his offense last season. This Falcons offense is going to be a lot better overall with the addition of Bijan Robinson, with an improved offensive line. This offense is about to explode. Drake London's about to explode. This dude's a massive steal. Make sure to draft these guys. They are awesome draft value. All right, guys, that's my last minute draft advice. Good luck. Have fun. See you later.